the impression I get is one of housing sector in Wales that's fully aware of the challenges that we're all facing. Yet it's also prepared to take on those challenges. That's because you don't hang around long in this profession if you don't care passionately about what happens to people and communities we serve. So for me, this year as President, I approach with some very clear objectives. I'm a passionate advocate of the importance of using the collective knowledge and experience of our 22,000 members to improve standards in housing and to act as agents for change. My job and the job of the CIH is to support you in the toughest of operating environments. Without wishing to spread gloom on this lovely spring afternoon, the world in which we're now operating includes a likelihood of a decade of rising poverty, with a lost generation of young people facing reduced employment prospects and a struggle to secure affordable housing. I mean, last month we saw the latest estimate of fuel poverty, and it's now estimated that 7 million households in the UK are now faced with fuel poverty, which is a real indictment of what's happening. So the politics of deficit reduction is clearly what's driving the government, and there's a struggle at the moment between austerity versus investment by government in housing, health and other public services. And I think we'll all read with interest today what's happened in today's budget and what the prospects are for reduced public expenditure. But the government agenda is one of social, political and economic reform with consequent instability for us all. And housing's visibility within all of this threatens to be at risk. So we're faced with a pace of change which is likely to feel overwhelming at times. So it's never been more important for housing professionals to get the support they need to be brilliant, as Sarah Webb so aptly put it. As a sector, more than ever, we need to draw on our collective experience and expertise to build together over the decades. We need to show that we can come into our own when times are tough, that we can face up to the most severe challenges, and first and foremost, that we can deliver. So what does that mean for the future and for us as housing professionals? Well, firstly, I suggest to you that the answer is up to us to find, and that we must respond with a decade of sector-led solutions. In going forward, we need to have a clear vision for a fair and robust housing system and be prepared to argue for it. In particular, we need to be clear about the role of social housing at a time when the private rented sector is increasing in overall terms. I'm looking forward to the Welsh quarterly housing debate tomorrow, as it will deal with many of these issues head-on. Alongside this, we must be able to demonstrate housing's economic and social value. I know many of you in the room already work hard at doing this within your communities and to government. For my part, a critical priority for me will be to promote the benefit of housing sector to governments across the UK, to other professions and other sectors, and to the wider world. The TAI project that CIH Cymru managed, led by Ellen Brock-Jones, is a shining example of how housing can deliver training and employment as part of a wider strategy to regenerate communities. We also need to examine what we need from our leaders in these changing times. Perhaps controversially, I would argue that what's needed now in our sector are leaders who don't necessarily come up with immediate answers and who seek to make hard problems look simple. Rather, we need leaders who will challenge us to face problems which have no easy fixes or simple painless solutions. Those leaders who can show us how to deal with problems that will require us to learn new ways of operating and who inspire us to do so. This means investing in current and future leaders in our profession, and also talking to other sectors to learn and share in their experiences. So with this in mind, I was delighted to see that Carla Keegan's launched the Rising Stars Cymru yesterday, underlining CIH's commitment to support future leaders in the sector. With excuses for the cliché, we are genuinely greater than the sum of our parts, and this conference gives us a perfect opportunity to prove what we can do when we work together. I'd now like to spend a few moments talking about what the new housing profession might look like. And I'm not just thinking of professionals in terms of those who've just joined the sector. I think now that in the future there'll be a greater need for all of us to access information. If we're going to demonstrate excellence in practice, we need to be able to get hold of up-to-date knowledge and learning as and when we need it. At CIH, we're constantly reviewing how we deliver knowledge. This will be a key area of investment for us in the next few years. The CIH recently launched its new website, and it's one step in that direction. Expect to see the website expand and develop in the coming year. We're also likely to see the need for a broader range of skills from future housing professionals and a different career path with jobs in and out of housing, and perhaps less of the pure housing background that we've had in the past. The advantage of the sector should be that we'll benefit from a wider skills base. So a changing sector needs a modern professional body, and you shouldn't be surprised to hear that CIH is changing in response. We have a new UK governing board which will set the long-term mission for the CIH as the professional body for housing. I'm delighted that two of the governing board members, Jim Strang from Parkhead Housing in Glasgow and Mike Owen from Merthyr Valley Homes, are here at TAI. It says here that they're keen to engage with you on any and all matters you feel important to housing across Wales and the UK. Mike certainly will in the bar later, I'm sure. I know that you've recently yesterday you elected your new board for Wales, and congratulations to the 15 members of the new board. And I know they're equally keen to listen and engage with members in the wider housing community. And that wider housing community is what we call potential members. I wish the Wales board well for the coming year and look forward to hearing about their progress. Nationally, we'll soon be undertaking a UK-wide look at the future of the profession and the role of the housing professional. There'll be opportunities, plenty of opportunities for you to feed into this work, so please watch out for ways in which you can give your views. There's shortly to be a member survey come out in the next day or so if it hasn't landed already, so please look out for that. So during my time as President, I'm committed to building and sustaining the reputation of housing professionals so as to put us in the strongest possible position to ensure that investment in housing, financial and otherwise, is valued by governments across the UK. There are growing political differences in political priority given to housing in the 4 countries in the UK, and therefore across CIH we must diversify to reflect this changing approach. The housing scene in Wales may not be everything that you want it to be, but believe me, you're not battling against the ideological indifference to housing needs of people on lower incomes as we feel we are in England. It's a pleasure, therefore, to be with you at such an important time for housing in Wales. Tomorrow, Hugh Lewis will be the first housing minister with a full seat in the Welsh Cabinet to address a conference. And I note that one of the asks in the Housing Pact Cymru was that the Housing Minister has a place at Cabinet, and that's at least one thing, an important thing I think you've achieved. So as Jane Mudd said yesterday in her open remarks, the Minister has made it clear that housing is an important aspect of his portfolio, is the most important aspect, and we welcome that commitment. In spring, the Minister will publish the first ever housing white paper leading to a full housing bill next year. It's an unprecedented opportunity for housing sector to influence the agenda in Wales. And of course, the Welsh Government is working with the grain of the sector. We may have different views on priorities and we'll always argue for more resources, but in Wales there's clearly a sense of joint ownership of the problems we face and a clear commitment to work together to deliver affordable housing and sustainable communities. All of this serves as a constant reminder of the need for a highly skilled and well-supported housing profession. My colleagues in CIH Cymru are working hard to provide you with the analysis and briefings, events, training and education you need to ensure that you and your organisation are properly equipped, fully informed and fit for purpose to face the very challenging times ahead. Let's see the current challenges as an opportunity to reignite the CIH's role in bringing professionals together to achieve that change. Let's also be challenging of ourselves and our profession, and let's be ambitious for housing. As President, I look forward to playing my part in bringing members together to influence a more effective and better functioning housing sector. Thank you for your kind attention, and good luck for the rest of TAI, and good luck in tackling the challenges ahead. Thank you.